Imagine this. You're jungling in ranked and you see that Lancelot, YSS and Hayabusa all got banned. You start to panic until you recall the existence of a certain magic jungler. That's right, it's Joy. Joy is one of the most consistent junglers in the whole of ML's history, still being strong and relevant 3 years after release. With the recent Genius 1 buff, I will be showcasing her gameplay, build, and everything you need to know to master this agile Leonie. Without further ado, let's go. So now let's talk about Joy's best build, okay? So when you look at her build, you want the Flame Retry boots that I've been trying out because you can burst someone down faster, which is on the Arcane boots, right? To give extra magic power and magic penetration early on. Then your first core item will be your Genius Wand. This is to replace the Stallium Scythe since the Stallium Scythe, I'm sorry guys, I'm finding it a bit hard to pronounce it today, but the Stallium Scythe will be replaced by Genius Wand because it got nerfed a while back and Genius Wand recently got buffed, so it's to provide that early game base damage. Then your next item spike comes from your Holy Crystal, giving a lot of magic power and it's great overall. Then you have Concentrated Energy. This is to provide you with a lot of sustain and it pairs well with the shield that you get from your passive. You have Divine Glaive, which is for the later parts of the game where you need some penetration, and then Immortality that can be swapped out for either Winter Crown for stationary targets or Rose Gold Meteor if you're just doing a quick item swap. Now some honorable mention to some other magic equipment, we have Blood Wings if the enemies start to hurt and you really need that sustainability and you don't want to go for the Rose Gold. And you also have the Wishing Lantern, right? Wishing Lantern is for high HP targets if you want to melt down these tanks. But just note that it got nerfed, so you might want to consider Divine Glaive if they have defense instead. So moving on to the emblems, we have a Mage emblem here with magic power, cooldown reduction, as well as magic penetration. We chose Thrill over here, which gives us extra attack in the early game, Season Hunter because we're playing her as a jungler, and as well as Temporal Rain so that we can engage and disengage even easier. And then last but not least, Bells, well of course we have Retry, I don't know why you would go for anything else, and yeah, that concludes her best build and emblem, and now we'll hop straight into the gameplay. Okay, so we'll be jumping straight into the game here. You can see that we already started from the blue buff side. So this is actually a little bit of experimentation on my part because it's a bit different from my usual rotation. Usually I start the buff opposite the turtle so that I can rotate over to XP and help them. But I decided to try out the turtle side rotation, which is basically starting from the buff that is that the turtle is on, right? So there's a really simple basis for this. I'm just gonna give a quick explanation. Basically, when you secure the turtle, if the enemy tries to counter invade, it's way harder for them to because your buff that spawns faster will be on the same side as the turtle, right? So they have to break through your turtle defense before they can even touch your buff, which is different compared to when it's on the other side and it's easier for them to counter invade and vertical farm in that sense. But yeah, so we'll be showcasing a bit of Joy gameplay here, and this will be, speaking of experimentation, this will be a bit different from my usual videos. You can see that instead of a live commentary, this will feature more of a post-game analysis. This is a different type of video. It will allow me to better, well, analyze the game in detail because I know the mistakes and the good plays that I made throughout the game, right? So I can better analyze it. So we are already going on to our first kill right here onto a Sun. I see that he doesn't have any more blink skills, so it's an easy kill onto him. So just let me know if you well, enjoy these type of videos more, or do you prefer a live commentary, right? So for the Joy, we can already know from the previous few minutes of the video, we already know her build, right? So you can see that her build has changed from a Stallion Scythe to a Genius Wand. So this allows her to be more relevant in the team fight, right? And I will be explaining some of the decisions that I made in this game. Not the cleanest Joy game, but Joy is up to this date probably one of, if not my most comfortable hero in the jungle or in general right now, right? I just feel that this jungler has so much potential in dictating early game tempo, it has so much pressure in controlling the map, the farming speed is fast, and you can really just turn a lot of games around just solely from your kit, right? So we can see that we're down here, we see a Moskov that's rather vulnerable. I stack off the creep and instantly go onto him. This is a trick that's really efficient as the Joy. You don't really want to engage onto someone with the first 1 or 2 stacks of your dash. You typically want to chain onto either a minion, a creep, a frontliner that's easy to target, or even your first skill, right? Because your first skill actually provides another charge of that dash. We can see that the Changer here, we already forced out both of her flickers. Both were forced out by us, and you will see further force out flickers onto this Changer later on. So apologies if I keep zooming in at times. It probably happens about 3 or 4 times in this video because my notifications were on, and yeah, just for privacy purposes, yeah. So I really hope it doesn't impact like the viewing experience of this video, and I hope you enjoy. We see that we really quickly already pick up a Genius Wand. Number one, because it's a magic item, it's usually cheaper than its physical counterpart, and it provides so much penetration and utility in the early game, right? So we are approaching the second turtle right now. It's really spawned. Very good kill on Moskov here. We pop out, okay? So I won't be commenting every single play by play, right? And I don't really remember which are the highlight moments, but we'll just try and like give you some tips here and there, okay? So like I said, as a Joy, you don't really want to chain onto your target most of the time because it's very easy for them to escape, right? You have to hit them 4 times in a row if you go onto the same target, right? To be able to trigger it out, which is really hard to do sometimes, especially if they have a high mobility, right? So what you want to do is just chain it off like this, and I just pop the out on the target immediately so they don't have a chance to run, right? And on Joy and every other assassin, there's a really key learning point. You should never, or anyone actually, you should never be this greedy, okay? Being this greedy will just lead to your downfall, as you can see here. Once I got to Moskov, I could have went back. I already used my ultimate, I already used my flame retribution. There was no point on me engaging. I thought I could kill the Lance. But especially in an assassin showdown, you want to be in a position where you have the advantage over your counterpart. You want to have the advantage over them, right? You don't really want to be in a position where you are instead either at disadvantage or even equal to them, right? So I should have just backed there, but it's all chill. We in fact do not learn from our mistakes, right? Even for myself, sometimes when we're getting a hit, we tend to get ahead of ourselves, and that's normal, right? That's human. But over time, if you want to improve as a player, you gotta know which risks you want to take, which risks have to be taken versus which risks you choose to take, right? There's a difference between a need and a want. So we can see that we're doing relatively well right now. The kill score is 8-8, but our map control is more prior right now. We see that our side lanes are really pushed in. Lance comes over, but I retreat the buff away because I know that my buff is more important than the turtle. And we do end up killing this Lance here, which secures us the turtle anyways. So really good decision by me and the team over here. Also, this is solo rank, so you can see some of the gameplay here might be relevant to your own gameplay. And you can see how that explains why sometimes the gameplay isn't very coherent. Here I tried to greed again. Thank god it forced out a flicker from the Changer. You can see that our whole point here is to play bait, right? Okay. So there are 2 ways to play the Joy, okay? Number 1, you want to fall into either one of these 2 categories, okay? Number 1, you want to be the initiator. You want to go in first with your ult, and then you can quickly disengage with your temporal rain and your dashes, and hope that they use a few more resources on you that than they would like, right? Okay, we get taken down here. Not really greedy from my part, but I can see how the Franco plays in here. Just a quick little note why I picked Joy into the Franco. I actually did last pick Joy, knowing that they have a Franco, because I saw that Joy is good against everyone else, right? Changer doesn't have a dash skill. Moskov, very dependent on that spacing. I can close the gap instantly. Sun, I basically one-shot him and his clones. It was between the Joy and the Lance, which they picked up earlier, right? So I thought that the benefit that the Joy provides will probably be more than the cost that the Franco brings, right? So back to the point, number 1, you either want to play Joy as an initiator, or there's a second option which I'll talk about later, which is the follow-up, okay? That usually requires you to engage very late, and you can see it later, I believe, near the end of the video where we showcase some really interesting plays from our side, okay? So you can see that we have quite a huge lead over the enemy right now. Mid turret is unfortunately not down, but we can try and see what we got going for us here. We try going down, we see the sun, we chain onto his clone here, and you can see that we missed the dash, but it's alright because we still can pop the ult, right? The ult still does damage, it's good for killing these squishies, but you should always try and hit all 3 of your dashes at like the maximum power, like when the 4 beats below goes to the 4th one, right? That's when you release the dash for the maximum power during your ult. However, if you hit only 2 and they escape like seen earlier, you can still pop your ult and chase them if they are within range, right? So this will just translate over to an easy lot for our side, and yeah, I'm just gonna give it a break until there's something more to talk about in this game. Okay, I want to add the fact that as a Joy, yes, most junglers are able to do this, but for Joy, I just feel like you're able to control the pace of the game much faster. You can see that you can really farm quite fast and rotate around the map quite fast, and if you saw what I did there actually, I have been outing creeps and minion waves and even neutral objectives like Turtle and Lord for a big portion of this game. Why? Okay, let me explain, okay? Joy's ult has like a mere like what 20-second-ish cooldown, and wherever I ult, I am confident that a fight won't break out. Like here I ult, obviously because they have to defend Lord, right? I'm far away from the Lord. Even if I don't ult, there's no use for my ult because by the time I get there and I need to engage in a fight to deal damage, I would already have my ult. You see, by the time I get there, my ult is about 5 seconds. I can easily engage here. I think I do onto this tiny blue buff here. Yup, I do. And by the time I get there, I will have my ult ready and I can just pop it like this, right? Okay, back to the point of greed. Here, it was really greedy of me, okay? I thought I had enough damage to kill Franco, and I probably did. But because of a little bit of jitters and eating too much turret damage, right, we end up going down. But thankfully, my team was able to recover here and pressure down mid. So if it was not for my team, that might have cost us the game. You can see that our Layla is so fat that she's just 2-tapping everyone, which is very good. But more of the story, guys, don't be overzealous, don't overstep into your enemy's territory just because you're winning. Remember to always maintain respect in the game, and that will win you more games. So I'm gonna give it another break and see whether we get to anything exciting soon. Okay, here we go closer to the mid lane. I tried to get a kill, but they got it because this Arla's going damage and our Layla is way too fat, right? I must add in a point that our macro this game could be better, but it's always tricky against a Sun, right? Because you don't really know where he'll be all the time, but we could have watched out for our turrets more. So here we just secure another Lord under our belt because the Lance is dead and the Chang'e is dead. You can see that, as we said earlier, we out the Lord here, and you can see that the clear from us is just so fast. Because I already know that I won't have to engage with any fight soon, right? So I proceed to just out there and we get back in about 10 seconds, which is a nice little timing in case I need to go on to anyone that I see. Maybe like the Moskov or the Sun, right? Yeah. So the Lord will spawn in a bit here. We're just chunking down turrets. We can't really get too close as a Joy because our only engage and disengage really is our dash if we don't pop our ult. So you gotta be careful, right? With the Joy, your precision is really crucial. and I'll try and highlight that again later, but for now you can see that we're just playing the waiting game. If my team doesn't engage, there's no point for me to. I'm just waiting for them to try and find an opportunity to bait out some resources before I go in with my full combo and max stacks of my ultimate, right? So you can see that they're all there. It's really tempting for me to go in, but I don't, okay? Because I know that if I go in now, I'll suffer the same fate as my god over there. So we just wait, okay? We are not exactly being useless. Yes, we can be more proactive, but I would like to treat this as an opportunity to say you don't always have to go in, right? You have to wait for the correct and the opportunity. You have to wait for the correct opportunity to go in, right? Because that will really allow that window of space for you to find the engage you're looking for. We unfortunately get spotted out here, I think, by the Charmer. Yeah, took a while for us to react there, but you can see that my team, they engaged a bit too much without the Lord, so we end up falling over there. But we're honestly chill, right? We're honestly chill over here. We just go ahead and farm, and there shouldn't be anything much happening for the next like minute. So I'm just gonna wait until about 15-16 minutes and highlight another thing that comes into play. So yeah, just bear. Okay, we can see that their composition is very split push heavy, right? They got the Sun, they got the Moskov, and this is the play I want to highlight. I dashed away because I thought there was a green buff there for me to change onto a Moskov, but it was gone. And then I know that the Moskov is in one of these bushes, right? Because I saw him go downwards. That flick of red confirms it. So I go onto the Moskov here, he does pop in the crown. But here's the important part, right? You see that I hesitate with my dashes, but in a good way, right? You can see that I time my dashes perfectly, such that it aligned with the Moskov's movements, right? He used his first skill, he used his flicker, but both of them are which right after we cast our dash, right? We cast our dash and then we go on to him because we, number one, get max stacks, number two, we get some precise movement. And this is even crazier, guys. I dashed in, I retreated a bit too early, but because of the burn and like the jungle passive, right? And we end up getting the third law of this game. And it's really quite a crazy sequence of events. I could have timed that retreat a bit better and kind of say it's a bit of luck as well. But I really thought that they will have more damage onto the Lord, right? So a bit of miscalculation on my part, but back to the point of how precise you have to be with Joy's dashes, right? You have to be really precise with them. You wanna wait a while before each dash because there's a short window before that dash expires, right? About a second. Yeah, it's about a second. So you can really not say take your time, but you have to be a bit more patient with it, right? It's like one of the key points to playing Joy. Number one, you have to be precise, and number two, you have to be patient. And of course, all this falls into play with the tips that we covered earlier about stacking onto the creeps, as we can see here, using the first skill, and we see there's someone here, so we just burst him down with no hesitation. You see that prior to that, we already charged up onto the Lito as well as our first skill, so when we burst that guy with our ult, it's the maximum output, right? We don't have to spend additional time trying to get the charges using our dash and potentially get killed in the meantime, right? So you want out from a safe, you want to dash from a safe space, and by the time you get into the action, you have your ult ready with 3 max stacks, and you just go in there and unleash. So by the time that happens, the window of opportunity left is for you to disengage with your Temporal Raid and your S2s. I believe that we can showcase this even better, like in about 30 seconds or so. I kind of wanted to go in here, I thought they wanted to go in, that's why I initiated with the onto the blue buff. Like I said, I chain onto these blue buffs and I try to make like a play here. But we can see something even better with the red buff, right? You can see that they're fighting here and our teammates go down one by one. However, we do not engage. We wait for the opportunity, we go with the dashes onto the minions and everything, and we just go onto them, right? And they all get bursted down. Why? Because they don't have any resources left. Franco uses out, Sun uses out, Chang'e uses her out, and we just basically get a free wipeout. So that is the beauty of the Joy, as you can see here. We have to be very patient and look for the right opportunity, guys. You don't have to be fast hand on most assassins, okay? Fanny and maybe Ling is an exception, but for the rest you just really need adequate game IQ. You need to read the situation properly, you need to read the map properly, and there you go. That is an instant MVP in your bag on a jungler that almost never gets banned and never gets picked in rank, but is still so good in 2026. So yeah, that is it for the Joy gameplay. I hope you enjoyed. If you enjoyed that video, do remember to give a like and subscribe and comment down below what your favorite part of this video is. Remember that this is Jared and I'm not just teaching you what works in ML, I'm teaching you why it works. See you next time.